Welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this episode, we are taking a look at a new PVC figure diorama statue from Diamond Select. And this time, it's a brand new version of a classic iteration of a character that we all know and love, and that would be this version here of Iron Man. And this statue harkens back to the earlier days of Iron Man, well before Robert Downey Jr. took the helm of the role in all the movies, and really kind of changed the face, the look, and the feel of who Tony Stark is. When I first saw the pre-order for this version of Iron Man pop up, I was really excited, very elated to see this because I've wanted really a classic style Iron Man. Like, I like all the different statues that Diamond has done of the movie version of Iron Man, but in particular, I just wanted that classic, iconic Iron Man look that reminds you of like the Kirby comics. And really, I guess you could say anything from his origin through like maybe the early 80s, late 80s, that kind of thing. Something that really captured that look. And to me, seeing the proto photos of this statue really got me into it, so I had to get this guy. We got it here today, so let's go ahead and dive on in and take a closer look at things. Let's talk packaging real quick here, and this is basically the same packaging we've seen for all the Diamond Select PVC figure dioramas. In particular, this version here, though, it's pretty vertical. It's a very tall piece, and the box matches it. And there really isn't a lot of excess plastic like we've seen with a lot of other statues from Diamond Select. This time around, it is very slim, very compact, and I like it when they keep things compact. A lot of times their packaging will be very large because they're putting a lot of, essentially a plastic shell around it to help pad it and protect it from getting bumped around, that kind of thing. But because of the shape of the piece itself, this box is also able to stay very thin. We've got a big window display in the front, which you can see, as well as two windows on the sides, one on each side of it. And of course, as always, it wouldn't be a Diamond Select piece if it didn't have Diamond Select trademark sunroof. The back of the box has a very good detailed bio about Tony Stark and basically gives you the origin story of the character of Iron Man. And this is easily one of the most detailed bios we've ever seen on a Diamond Select Gallery diorama piece. I mean, this thing goes on, and I like that. Like, I like a good bio. And this time around, they are not skimping on the information here. Like, this is basically the first issue of Iron Man in a matter of one very large paragraph. So hats off to Zach O. You've seen him on the channel a few times, do interviews with us. He's the one who also writes these bios, so job well done there. And just as important, it also lets us know who sculpted this piece, which is Matt Rouillard, and we haven't seen his work before, so I am very curious to see what he's going to do with this classic character. So that's the box, but we're not here to take a look at this box all day, so let's go ahead and get this Iron Man out of the packaging and take a better look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our Iron Man statue out of the box now. You guys can see it's a very tall, very vertical oriented piece. And to make sure you guys know exactly how big this is, because I know it's advertised one way, but let's see. This guy does stand about a foot tall, so you guys can see right here just how big this is. It's a very tall piece. And about a third of that would actually be his base, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just first talk about the piece itself here, what we're looking at. Let's start with, normally we'd start with likeness, but this piece doesn't really have a likeness because it's Tony Stark in his armor here, so I guess we're just going to be taking a look at the armor itself, and let's get a good look at this from a few different angles here. So I like this piece because it really reminds you of like a classic Iron Man look, like I said. I couldn't tell you exactly what era of Iron Man it is because I'm not that hardcore of a fan, unfortunately, but it is an era that I like. Like, I enjoy the way this outfit is designed. I feel like it's not, too far deep past the early 60s, but we're not talking like, first few years Iron Man, but it's not too far off either. It's kind of just right for what I'm looking for here. And it looks very simple. Like, there's not really a lot of heavy detail in this. There's not a lot of crazy details in this either. And that's because it was originally drawn that way too. It's not like today where Iron Man's armor has to have a ton of different stuff all over it. No, back then it was very simple, and that's one of the things I liked about that aesthetic, and that's what I'm liking here about this piece also. It is not very complicated in any way. It is very simple, but simple doesn't make it bad. It makes it just perfect for that era. What is kind of weird is how much muscle tone he's got in this armor here, because, I feel like this wouldn't be as tight-fitting as it looks. You can see his six-pack, so you could argue that would be molded on. Same with like maybe the pecs over here, but then you've got like on this side, some divots for his pectorals. You've got some stuff going on in his laterals here. I feel like that might be a little too much, and that might be their attempt to kind of modernize it. I can't recall if it would have been drawn that way even from when this era is meant to represent. And to be fair, it doesn't really look like it's skin tight necessarily. It almost could look like it's actually, part of the armor's design itself, so I'm not like really docking any points for it. Kind of just an interesting observation I noticed as I was looking at this piece here. I mean, we've always known that this armor was fairly skin tight even from back then, and it kind of shows in his muscle tone in his arms and in his legs. Drawing was different back when this version of Iron Man was around, so it would have had some detail, wouldn't be like the crazy armor we're seeing today. So whatever, just a thing to take a note of. What I do like, though, is on his hands, how he has all the lines, same on his trunks here, and same with his boots. If we take a look further down here, he has all those lines, which I don't really know how to describe them other than just calling them lines, but that was, again, part of the design. That's one of those elements I like of the old Iron Man, is those weird lines. I don't want to call them stripes, that's what they are, but I always liked that about the Iron Man look. It made it really easy and fun to draw also. And I also, speaking of things I like the belt, and I like the little round bit over here. I do like his little nubbins on his chest. I don't know what else to call them, but I like that. One of the details I really like is the head. So again, there's no likeness to discuss here, but the head is like, again, this is that classic Iron Man I wanted. And you're going to hear that phrase a lot, but this head is what I wanted. I wanted to see this. And it's not just a flat Iron Man head. Like, there actually is some depth on the piece here. You guys can see the way it's reflecting light, the way the shadows are casting on it. And there's some structure on the cheeks with the nose. I like the ear spots as well. I don't know what to call them, but the ear protectors maybe we'll go with. I like how those look too, so that part's really, really nice. There's not really a lot of paint detail on this otherwise than that. I mean, really, you've got the gold, you have the very shiny red. That yellow that you're seeing in the middle of the chest here is repeated on his hands, but that's also kind of like got a little bit more painted detail in there. It's like a little ring of orange around that. Otherwise, that's basically it. And in fact, I'm going to scroll down to the base, because what you're going to see on the base here in the front here, that's pretty much identical to kind of what you're seeing in the hands, just minus the extra sculpted design on it. And as for the rest of the base too, the base is very nice. It's meant to represent, I think, part of his Hall of Armor or something. I would assume it's meant to be like a Hall of Armor piece there. But it's very nice, very simple, very round, which is cool because the roundness of it, I feel like really helps encapsulate the piece into the verticality of it. And what I mean by that is how it kind of just like shoots up, and it really helps him look even taller than he is, because it kind of helps him with the same vertical lines that the figure already has throughout the rest of his body. Because when you really look at this, it's very much vertical. It's all very much about lines going up and pointing up towards the sky, which makes a lot of sense because you've got this rocket booster base thing going on over here. So let's talk real quick about this base. And that's the awesome translucent effect right there with all the smoke and the flames billowing out. I think that looks very, very cool. Like, you guys know I'm always a sucker for that type of base anyway. But this is a really nice one here, and you can see it from this angle better. I think this is actually the best angle to look at it with his foot kind of up there the way it is. Like, I think that looks really cool. It's a very action-packed kind of pose. And it's also a very heroic pose, but yeah, it's very much action-packed with all this stuff coming out of there. He's clearly propelling himself upwards and forwards, and it just looks so dynamic for a piece that, you know, I don't think otherwise would actually be that dynamic or visually interesting, because, yeah, he is just kind of going straight up in the air, and in a lot of ways it is a very kind of old school, I don't want to use the word boring, but it's kind of a boring pose, but it very much works here. It really tells a good story about Iron Man, showing him going through the air or wherever you think he's doing here, whatever he could be doing. There's a lot of open-ended storytelling to the way the piece works, and it just feels like a classic Iron Man cover. Like, this is the kind of pose you'll turn the page on in a book and you'll see him doing. It's nothing like super crazy, but it's there. It's just very much reads to me like an Iron Man statue, and that's what I wanted from this. I want it just to be very simple, very iconic, the kind of thing where, you know, if you just wanted to have one Iron Man statue in your collection, this would be probably the one to get if you're looking for that kind of classic comic book look. Obviously, if you want the movies, that's a whole different line of statues to get, and we've looked at a few of those in the past, so you can check them out too. There's really no comparison between those types of things, at least not in my mind, because, again, the movies have a very different look for Iron Man, and they're great in their own right. But if you want something that is like straight out of the comics, this is the one to get. So I'm giving this one a pretty solid review here. I like this piece very much. Look at that great muscle tone in his legs too. This is an Iron Man that does not miss leg day. There's a lot of good things to talk about with this piece here. I'm going to rotate him from the back so you can make sure we see the back as well. There's a lot of really great pros about this piece. I don't really feel like there's anything negative to discuss here. I mean, anatomy is spot on, sculpting is very good, paint job is very good, and honestly, you can never beat when they do these kind of like shiny metallic colors. Like, that's one of my favorite looks for these statues in general. So it definitely does the job there. And, you know, really there's not much in terms of paint slop to even discuss or criticize here. This is just kind of perfect. It's kind of perfect for what I'm looking for. And if you're looking for something just like this, I think this is going to be an Iron Man piece to get. But as for this Iron Man, I'm giving this one a very solid, very positive review. It's a real simple piece, but the beauty is in the simplicity here. So that is our look at the Diamond Select Iron Man PVC figure diorama. Until next time, I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching.